my gosh, look, it's just us tonight. What do you say? Hi,
Hi.
everyone. I'm Shay Moraga with Shay's Warriors, here with one of my besties, Aileen Alvarez. And we're here to talk to you tonight about Shay's Warriors and how it came to be. Shay's Warriors is a 501c3. It was started here in the Coachella Valley in 2018, and we'll tell you the rest tonight. Right, Aileen?
Yes, we will. Hello, everyone.
And please feel free to ask any questions that you might have or whatnot. And definitely after the show, we will answer all of those for you. I'm going to apologize in advance. My throat is a little raspy. If you're in the Coachella Valley, you know that we had some major winds the other day. And winds and scalping of our golf courses are never friendly with my allergies. So there you go. Hopefully everyone can hear me.
I think you're good.
So let's tell everybody, Aileen, how this kind of came about. How Shay's it was 2016.
Yes.
And I had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. I knew I had breast cancer. I knew something was going on. Just diagnosed with it, and I went to see a doctor who did not end up being my doctor, but she kind of put a real spin on things in my head that wasn't the best scenario of what I was going through at the time, being a young mom and having a daughter that was 12 years old. We just moved back to the Valley.
Right.
So I didn't know a lot of people. And I remember calling my daughter's school, which happened to be your daughter's school.
Correct.
And saying, I have to have someone to talk to. And our friend Jen set us up kind of like on a blind date phone call, if you might say, right?
Yes. And it was one of those, if I recall correctly, it was either an email or a text that was our original blind date setup.
Yeah.
But yes, she was very much so. Our friend Jen had contacted me knowing that I had already been diagnosed years earlier with breast cancer, completely out of the blue. And knowing what I had gone through, because the school is very tight, and I had a tremendous support system from the school, and she was one of those huge supporters and helpers, and she just kind of really knew what was going on. And then when you had touched base with her and reached out, she said, I need you, if you don't mind, to get in touch with this other mom. And she isn't sure what's going on. She has a pretty good idea, but I think she's waiting to hear everything. So I said, absolutely no problem. And I was sort of on the tail end of everything in terms of treatments and finishing up all the surgeries and everything else, because it took a little bit of time. So we had our blind date, and it was a phone call. And I recall we had gone a little bit back and forth in terms of phone tag.
Yeah.
And I remember.
You called me, I think.
Yes.
From on your lunch break or something one day.
Yeah.
And I happened to be driving down 111. I pulled over into the Kohl's parking lot.
Yep.
And at that time, I didn't know for sure what type of breast cancer I had, but I knew it was something. And
yes.
I pulled over and I remember you saying, "What do you want to know? I'll tell you everything." Because were you at your 5 years at that time?
I was not at 5 years at that time quite yet. I was diagnosed in 2011. Actually, no, I take that back. I was diagnosed 2011. I found the lump, interestingly enough, on Father's Day of 2011. My dad had previously died of metastatic non-small cell lung cancer on my birthday the year prior. So Father's Day rolls around 2011, and it took a really long time for me to go through all the treatments. I had a lot of surgeries just because of my family history. It turned out I ended up being BRCA positive. So there was a lot of back and forth and in and out of treatment, in and out of hospitals, that sort of thing. So I had not quite gotten to the 5-year mark, but at that point, I recall still very vividly everything that I had gone through. And I was pretty much like, if I can help anybody make this a little bit more easy of a process, I absolutely will. I still am pretty much an open book in terms of the treatment and what it all entails and how it affected me, because I think going through everything, it's better to know and to hear about other people's stories, uh, and sort of expect the worst, but hope for the best, just so that people are aware of what could possibly happen. So I recall, when I first got diagnosed, I researched everything like they sort of caution you not to do, but of course you do. I Googled everything. I went online. I did all the research. You know, I got biopsied. I read all the reports, and sorry, that's my dog. He's very upset.
Good.
So, I went through and I did everything. And, so I was learning more and more. My cancer is hormone receptive. So I learned more and more. And the more I learned, the more I was like, okay, there's research out there. Things are, moving in terms of treatments and that sort of thing. But really, the normal protocol had really not changed for years and years and years. So I kind of knew what was before me. And I was also quite lucky because the Coachella Valley is very small, and I feel like everybody sort of knows everybody. So I had the fortune of being able to call up doctors that knew people that we knew mutually. So it was very, very fortuitous for me. So, and I remember talking to you and I said, what do you want to know? And I was very much so like, does she want the nitty gritty of it? Does she want the good, bad, the ugly? What does she want? So, and I remember you saying, give it to me all. And I was like, okay, here we are.
And I think I even said, give me the worst.
Yep.
Because if I get the best, then my mindset is already there. Because you didn't know I was already kind of a mindfulness yoga instructor. And that's kind of always how my brain worked. Even when I was a little kid, I would read these books, and I would read the back from the beginning. I always want to know the ending before I know the beginning, so then I can piece everything together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of a weird
I didn't
thing.
know that at the time. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't know that you were a yogi and that you were. I just knew that you were another mom in the school who was friends with Jen and needed somebody to talk to. So, and I remember actually completely sticking my foot in my mouth by saying, okay, well, this is my situation. I'm hormone receptive. So going through, the ER, PR, HER2, all of that, and then remembering to myself, okay, I just kind of totally stuck my foot in my mouth. And I said, the one thing that I know is triple negative breast cancer. There's not a whole lot out there.
Yeah. And you're like, we don't want that. We don't pray for that. Not having that. I said, okay.
Yeah. And the reason was because I hadn't done a lot of research on it, and there really wasn't a lot because that's not the kind of cancer that I had been diagnosed with. So I just kind of was like, okay, I know about this triple negative. There's not a lot out there. And okay, let me go to all the stuff where it's hormone receptive. And then I remember you being on the phone, and I remember saying that. And then you said, you know what, that's the other line.
Yep, the other line happened, and the doctor called, and I said, I will be right back because the doctor's calling, and I'll call you right back. And you're like, okay, no problem, I'll call you right back. And so I hung up the phone, and I started talking to the doctor. It was the doctor, and she's going through all of this doctor lingo that I so did not understand. And I'm writing everything down on a piece of paper in my car. And she just said, well, there's no good news in this. And that was kind of the one thing that I was like, oh boy, am I going to die? And she's just said, you have to, oh, I think we lost Aileen, but I'll tell you the story. Hopefully she'll jump back on here in a sec. But I said to the doctor, I said, I really, there she is.
I'm so sorry. My phone completely shut off. I got very upset. It was very hot. So
I was just saying, I was telling them the doctor had called, and basically she said, after a while, after going through all the lingo, she said, you have triple negative breast cancer. And I was like, the first thing came out of my mouth. And if I offend anyone, I'm sorry, but I said, oh, fuck.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
I didn't know what else to do. My heart sank. I started, like, I was in total and absolute fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember you getting on the other line and you said, OF is triple negative. And then I said it, OF. And then we both kind of went going back and forth on that. Right. Yeah. And so, and then it was like, okay, we'll deal with it. Right. I mean, like, that's what we do. We'll deal with it. We'll get some care. We'll go through the whole process. You go through the doctors and the treatment programs and everything else. But that was the initial thing. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, really, Aileen? Like,
but I go big or I go home. Right?
Yes. That is so true.
For those of you that don't understand what triple negative breast cancer is, it's not hormonal based. It is negative to HER2 positive. It's negative to progesterone. Sorry, still nasally. And it's negative to estrogen.
Right.
And that's why it's called triple negative. And it is a breast cancer that's out there that is harder to treat than a lot of breast cancers that are out there, because it usually only works with chemotherapy and the high dosage of chemotherapy and aggressive chemotherapy, and then loads of radiation. And depending on if it's in your lymph nodes or not, surgery as well. And I would say, I think about now the statistics are going up. They're starting to see more and more cases of triple negative come out in younger women. I was diagnosed at 38. I was almost 39. And then it was about 8 to 10% of the women during that time had triple negative. Now, the good thing and the benefit for me was 10 years prior to my onset of that cancer, not a lot of women survived that. Okay. And so they're always working on more and more treatments out there all the time.
Right. Right. There's been a slew of, I don't know if breakthroughs is the best word, but a ton of research. And my understanding is the approach to treating breast cancer has changed. And there's it's a lot more genetics based, at least, where I am being treated. They're going a lot more genetic based than anything else. So there's been a lot of changes and a lot of breakthroughs in terms of the research and that sort of thing. And I did actually come across a statistic the other day that more and more, not necessarily just triple negative, but more and more younger women are being diagnosed with breast cancer. So the statistic is also showing that younger women are also being diagnosed, which is terrifying. quite frankly. I was 35, 36 actually, when I was first diagnosed, the first time around. And I'm 46 now, and I was diagnosed again with a recurrence 2 years ago. So, you know, the the manner in which my treatment has gone is different because of some of the genetic research that has happened. I remember my oncologist, my original treating oncologist, um, treated me until my last chemotherapy treatment, and then turned me over to a colleague of hers before she moved across the nation, across the country, just to research. And I ended up following the oncologist that would continue to see me in follow up. I followed him to outside of the Coachella Valley because I just clicked with him. He was wonderful, and he clearly knew his thing. He clearly knew his stuff. So I followed him out of town, and he, in fact, as he continued to follow me through with follow-ups and that sort of thing, and appointments, we would talk about some of the innovations and some of the new approaches to treatment, and he was indeed saying that there are so many treatments. And I remember during some of my follow-up, he said, it very well may be, by the time this could possibly become an issue with your daughters, because I have the family history, he said, you very well may just be able to take a pill and treat it that way. And then lo and behold, here I am, pretty much almost 10 years later with a recurrence. I am being treated with a pill, which is completely different than the original treatment that I had had. So it is very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
I remember asking you all the different types of treatment you went through,
Yes.
and surgery, and if there were options and all of that, because of course the one thing that I knew I'd also have to do is do the BRCA test, because triple negative runs in certain bloodlines.
Right.
And as far as I knew at the time, I didn't have any issues with bloodlines or anything like that. But I had an adopted grandfather, so we don't know really where that bloodline ran. So they wanted to make sure that if I did have the BRCA gene, that they'd be able to treat it appropriately too, and even in some cases more aggressively, I guess.
Right.
Triple negative, they've found out, comes in women younger, most of the time in their 20s or 30s, and it was really rare of occurrence. I know we had a question, and it was, I'm just going to read this, and this is coming from breastcancer.org. Triple negative breast cancer is a cancer that tests negative, again, for estrogen receptors, progesterone receptors, and excess HER2 protein. And that's why they call it triple negative. And the results mean that the growth of the cancer is not fueled by hormones of estrogen and progesterone or by the HER2 protein. So that's why it doesn't respond well to hormonal therapy medicines that target HER2, like you,
Right.
protein receptors. And so there's a lot of other medicines that are now used successfully to treat triple negative, but it still accumulates to about 10 to 20% now of breast cancers. So it is going up little by little.
A high statistic.
Yeah.
That is
And
a high.
that's just in 5 years. I will hit my 5-year mark this December.
Best Christmas present ever.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's where when you and I were going through that journey, when I was going through the journey with you,
Right.
I looked to you because you were ahead of me in recovery.
Yes.
And at the time, you were also in remission.
Yeah.
And so it was really important to me to call you or talk to you when I had a fear, because it was this connection that no one else really had with me.
Right.
And we would meet up for lunch,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. I remember that. That was, yes, we would every chance that we could meet up for lunch. And it was usually somewhere in the middle from where we both were, because I was working in Indio and you were living in Bermuda Dunes, but then you were also working, back and forth. And I remember it was like, okay, I can meet you here or I can meet you there. So it was always kind of like sort of in the middle of wherever you were to where I was. So we could get the most out of our time. And I remember thinking to myself, meeting you and talking to you, because, in remission, I was put on tamoxifen, which is protocol. My understanding is protocol, after having been given the blessing of being told you have no evidence of disease. But it's kind of one of those things where, because of my BRCA condition and because of how aggressive my breast cancer was, I was put on tamoxifen to kind of continue, um, the medicine that I needed, but also, to just continue not having any evidence of disease. And I remember thinking to myself, it's not so far off when we would talk about these things, the fear of going through it, right? It's really not so far off, because you're told, great, I remember they told me, given everything, and if they hit it aggressively enough, I could get as close to cure as possible based on the science that they had then. I remember my doctor said, we'll get you as close to cure as possible, and we're giving you the Cadillac of breast cancer treatment. And it's going to be aggressive, and you're going to hate it. You're going to hate us. It's going to suck. But this is going to get you as close to cure as possible. And I said, okay, sign me up and we'll go through. But I remember when we would meet for lunch, it was always a reminder to me that it doesn't really stop. They tell you you have no evidence of disease, but I'm still taking a daily pill, which sometimes knocked me on my butt, sometimes didn't, just depending. And it really sort of never goes away, right? You're still going through it. I'm on the other side of it. The fear of everything is still lingering, right? Because it's not an absolute. They don't have a quote unquote cure for breast cancer quite yet. So we're still hopeful for that. But I think, that was the biggest thing, was really, it was helpful for me. I know it was helpful for you because I had already gone through it and I was on the other side of it. But it was helpful for me because I wasn't at least the only one still fearful of things, right? So I didn't want to feel like a freak of nature, like, it kind of is like, well, they've told you you have no evidence of disease, so I should be, partying and celebrating. And I did, but there's always still that in the back going on, right? And so it kind of still made me aware, which would, still ground me in gratitude that I was at that point. So, but yeah, we had many a lunch and many a breakfast and many a discussion.
Well, and I think like during that time too, it was in my head, and I kept saying to you, I wish, the doctors and the nurses, they do everything. It's awesome because they're
Yeah.
treating you. But there's nothing for when you're at home and someone to talk to. I mean, yes, I could go to a counselor, but I didn't want to do that. And I did try a support group, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Um, And there really was nothing at the time that
Right.
helped younger women in our
Right.
area to be
Right.
able to say, like, okay, this is a person you could talk to that might be a mentor for you, or this is some education that might help you. You know, it's just it seemed cumbersome to call my nurse all the time too,
Right.
because they I mean, they're, a lot of times they're busy in their day. And at times I felt like I was kind of not shoved off, but that it just was, maybe books or maybe Google is better. Like, here's a
Right.
site for you. But I wanted a live person. I needed that for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Um, and so you got me to the end.
Yeah.
We went through 20 rounds of chemo and surgery and 38 rounds of radiation. And here's the end of December 1st of 2016. And my doctor says you're med, no evidence of disease.
Right.
And everybody's celebrating.
Right.
And it's a good day
Yep.
and a scary day for the person going through it.
Right.
Because you really realize, wow, I did all that. In a few weeks, it kind of hits you like, it's weird not going back to the doctor. It's weird not going to get chemo.
Yeah.
It's weird not going to get radiation. It's weird not having somebody make sure I'm okay every week.
Yeah, for me, there was a lot of comfort in the continually going to the doctor. There was a lot of comfort of when I would go and they would tell me things are looking good. Things are going in the direction that we want them to. And then all of a sudden, I'm kind of set off on my own. And I'm like, wait, hold on. You're not holding my hand right now? Please hold my hand for the rest of my life. Right? Like, and I get it because they have a bajillion other patients and they've done their job and they've done it well. But there is that. And, I recognized sort of early on that I would have to cognitively handle a lot of things. So I thought it would be a good idea to see a therapist because, like you, I needed a live person. My family could not understand any of this. My mom was probably the closest because she was my dad's caretaker when he was sick. But I wasn't going to share any of it with my kids. They were too young, and it just is not appropriate, at least in my opinion. I try to keep their lives as steady and normal as possible during treatment and after treatment. And my husband at that time, my then husband, was, while he had sort of been on the sidelines alongside going through everything, didn't understand, really didn't understand. There was one gal at work who understood because she was going through it as well. But, that was few and far between contact, which was fine and it was great. But, in the valley, it's different. In person, it's different. Speaking to somebody or emailing, there was a friend of a friend's wife who was going through it at the same time, and we would email a lot. But it's just different in terms of being able to have the human contact and the interaction. And we both found each other in the sense of we both have a lot of the same beliefs and the same values and faith and everything else, and mind body connection and just all of that. So I think when we would talk, it was so much more fruitful for me because it was live and in person. And
It was healing.
it was very much so.
It was like that safety net
Yes.
of being able to share our stories and our fears and our anxieties, and then be able to connect at a deeper level and know that someone else was going through the same thing, or did go through the same thing I did, or has some of those fears like I do. And I think it was March of that year, I decided I was going to go to a yoga retreat and get away for a week, clear my head. I didn't know what I was going to do anymore, because I always define life now before cancer and life after cancer, right?
Mhm.
And I went to this yoga retreat with about 50 people. And it was real small, and it was led by wonderful, wonderful gal named Cecilia. And being a Lululemon ambassador, it was an immersion retreat, the first one that they had ever done. So I was really lucky and privileged to go to that, and learned so many other people's stories of differences in life and traumas and setbacks and pure, moving forward and changing the things over adversity. I mean, just getting through things, that I decided when I came back, I was like, I'd like to do this retreat, but not a yoga retreat, but a retreat for women like us to gather and to connect and
Right.
have more of this, like, so we're able to get through after our treatment.
Right.
Because the last day that I left, so at this retreat, we shared many different things and all of that, and it was beautiful and wonderful and everything. And the teams there put words on people. And at the end of the retreat, when you left, an artist wrote what you were able to write, your values, your vision, and your goals. And I brought it. I always keep it with me. It says, I don't know if people can read this, but it says, I am hope.
Yeah.
And I brought this home from the retreat, and I sat it on my mantle. And I was sitting on my couch one day, and I remember just looking up at my mantle, looking at those words, and just thinking, like, that's what it is. Anyone who is a survivor or a thriver, or someone who's still going through cancer, is hope to somebody else
Yeah.
who is going through it or starting that journey.
Yep.
And that's kind of, I knew at that point that we needed to start shows and get that message of hope out there. And I remember calling you and saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Are you in?
Yep.
And are you sure?
I
And you're, yes.
absolutely remember this conversation too, because you were like, I just got back from this thing. I got things to do, but I have some big stuff. So we need to talk. We need to meet up and we need to discuss. And I remember meeting up at the coffee shop and you were telling me about it. And you're like, this is my calling. And I thought to myself, that's fantastic. Like, that is fantastic. That is fabulous. What do you want me to do? Right? I totally remember that. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm in. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
And that's how Shay's came to be.
Yeah. And then we I put some bylaws together with a friend, and who's actually sits on our board too.
Yes.
And then we met with a local nonprofit attorney in town.
Yep.
And for lunch one day, and brought everything to her. Excuse me. And I said, here you go. This is what we did. We applied for the license.
Yep.
That must have been in June, maybe May or June.
I remember it being hot. Yeah. I remember being really hot, like, oh, but yes.
So we applied for that nonprofit license, and then the state said it would come back. They said like 6 to 8 months to a year.
Whenever it felt like it, really.
So I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna keep doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna write I think like stuff out for board members and write ideas and programs and all of this, like all these different things that you and I have talked about.
Yeah.
And that I've experienced over the years of going through that, and just in business in general. And it was really strange because my birthday is in November. And I think it was right around my birthday time
Yep.
that I ended up getting the letter in the mail.
Yep.
And called you up. I'm like, we got it. We got it. You know?
Yeah. We're real now.
I'm like, we're a nonprofit. Holy, you know what?
we have the paper. We got it. We're good. Yeah, I remember that.
And
oh, gosh.
It was just, November's a good month, not just because it's my birthday, but because it's a gratitude month too. And I just felt like, that's such a sign that this is on the right track.
Right.
This is a sign that it is meant to be, because I mean that couldn't have been more of a big sign, like, and of thankfulness during that time.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you think about also, and I remember we had talked about this, October is so focused on breast cancer awareness. And so much of it is focused on, research and during the treatment and everything. But, Shay's Warriors is so all about the after cancer, the life after cancer. And so also being situated in November, not only having it be your personal birthday, but also the birth of Shay's Warriors, it's also like almost the aftermath of what I call Pinktober, right? Everything is pink in October. Everything is pink, everything, we eat, sleep, walk, drink, cook, pink, right? Everything is pink. But then in November, once you've raised awareness for that, it's like, okay, well, there's awareness for stuff that happens after the pink stuff, right? So it really is, for lack of a better term, meant to be in Bashert, right? So it really does all gel in November.
Yeah, I mean, what we were going to be talking about essentially was everything life after cancer.
Yeah.
And like you said, October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which brought us together.
Right.
Life after cancer brought us together too, and continues to keep moving forward.
Right.
Because what most people don't understand that don't have cancer or haven't had cancer, and hopefully they never experience it, is life after cancer continues in a different way.
It does. And it's not all roses, for lack of a better term, right? I mean, I remember, going through a lot of the things when we would apply for grants and write the literature that we were writing and doing all the things. It really is, and it sounds very ungrateful, because we've been given this gift of life after cancer. But it doesn't mean that it's not still hard. It's hard in a different way. There's still challenges to it. And sometimes they come up right away. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time because everybody processes differently, right? Everybody deals with things differently. And so I think it's like anything else, it's different for everybody because everybody's different. But there are things and there are hardships in life after cancer. And I think it's just the awareness of that, which is huge. And the knowledge and everything else, and the working towards helping people and thriving after cancer, which is really where it's sort of at. But you know, I don't want it to sound ungrateful, because you are grateful for your life after cancer, but it's very, very, very often different.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that we wanted to make sure Shays was about was authentically talking about that, because there wasn't 5 years ago, there wasn't a lot of talk
Right.
about things in life after cancer, not within our realm anyway.
Right.
And maybe there was elsewhere, because we had done some research that there was stuff happening back east and even in Europe.
Right.
But here on this side of the world, it was still kind of not hush hush, but it was like in support groups or whatnot, I guess. But it wasn't topics that blended a holistic and a conventional way of healing.
Right.
And so Shays is holistic and conventional. We want to work and bridge that gap of emotional support for others, not just with the medical community, but with everybody.
Right.
And so having programs like this, what we're doing tonight, Talk, Listen, and Share, where we talk in the medical community, we talk in the holistic community about different ways to heal and move forward, with backed by facts and figures and all
Right.
of that good stuff. Trained professionals and people that just want to help.
Right. Absolutely. And
sharing their story.
And, you know, so much of it, at least for me, and I think for a few others that I've talked to personally about it, is you don't feel alone. That's the biggest thing, right? Like for me, it was, how dare I feel still all of these hardships and issues when I've been given the gift of life after all of this treatment. But, you know, I'm not the only person, which I guess there's strength in numbers, but it makes me feel a little bit more accepted and accepting of those feelings and of those things, that I'm not the only one going through it. So there is also a community of survivors. You know, we're all looking to thrive with very similar issues of life after cancer. So there is a support there, because we are all sort of in it together.
We're stronger together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our mottos.
That's right.
Besides Talk, Listen, and Share, we have a private Facebook group. And that Facebook blog was started by another awesome friend of mine, Paula, who's in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And, you know, she gave me that outlet to help start Shays by writing with a few friends. And then a few friends became a few hundred friends. And then a few hundred friends now are into the thousands.
Yeah.
And that essentially, after I was done with my treatment, I've turned that over to anyone who wants to share their story, because my story is still going, and I pop in and write my blog a little bit every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone can share their story, because when we share, we heal.
Yep.
And sometimes it's easier to share in words than it is in person, or it is like this online or in a podcast. So those are some really cool things that Shays has started. We do have a podcast, the Life After Cancer podcast, that Allison Mayer-Sachs she is the, I would call her the chief outreach person at Eisenhower's Leukocyte Cancer Center. She and I and Ellie Torget, another awesome volunteer with Shays, host the podcast. And that is online on Spotify and Apple and a whole bunch of other venues, where we share inspirational stories, facts. We share stuff about blood cancer, myths and facts, I should say. We also, with the blog that we have on our website, it's for anyone to share their story. So people can submit that way. And then we share it. We give that as a platform for others to be able to share. We've had people share about aesthetic flat closure. We've had people share about metastatic breast cancer and triple negative and a lot of other ones as well. Just the fear behind cancer itself.
Yeah.
We have also one of our programs coming up. I think it's at the end of the month or the middle of the month, I should say. Coffee and Connection, Movement to Heal classes. And twice a month, we'll have someone go out and be able to hike or walk, gathering together just to go do something outside, be able to stretch, do a little bit of yoga, some meditation. Different instructors will also be zooming in for those that are not comfortable gathering together still. So we have that coming up. What else? What am I missing, I guess?
Oh, we do have some other events to not only raise awareness in life after cancer and helping others thrive after cancer. We have the River of Hope at the La Quinta Artisan Studios.
Yeah, that will be coming up probably in December. It'll be coming up December or January. I know it will be on our schedule again soon.
Okay, yeah. And then, we have some events coming up and additional talk, listen, shares. So, but I do, we do also support other cancer groups as well. We've been able to reach out and raise awareness for a lot of other cancer, children's cancer. Some of the things that we do aren't just breast cancer. We want to be able to kind of partner and collaborate and that sort of thing, really to kind of help each other, all lift each other up in this journey that we're all in. So
we partnered with, you're referring to Desi Strong Foundation and the Children's Museum. Just recently, we did a drive last month for Children's Cancer Awareness Month and collected blankets and hats, colors, crayons, and Desi Strong. I think they're actually picking up all the stuff this Friday.
Oh, great.
Museum, so that's good. We recently participated in Paint El Paseo Pink.
Yes.
And that was huge. We had another team that was way over 100 team members, raised a lot of money and donations for that. Helps pay for cancer care locally in the Valley with our tribe.
Right.
We have partnered with to build awareness with American Cancer Society by sharing some of their information as well. They are, when you go for information, or when I go for information, I go to them as the oldest one that's been around and probably has the most statistics out there. They're the ones that I go to. And so we've done that. And we do have a sold out fundraising event tomorrow night.
That's great.
Our partners, Rancho Relaxo.
Yes.
Where we're going to be unveiling some new merchandise, because that's one of the ways that Shay's Warriors ask for donations is through our merchandise. And people might not understand that when you buy any type of merchandise through Shay's Warriors, 100% of those profits goes to our mission and our cause. We have an all 100% volunteer board.
Right.
Nobody is paid. Our merchandise is 100% profit to the mission. The grants that we write also, we have an awesome grant team. Jason, Victor, yourself, myself, and other people that have contributed to that team. We all are trying to write 2 to 3 grants a month.
Yes.
Because our main mission is to host this retreat this June right here in the Coachella Valley.
Yeah.
Because the pandemic really stopped us from our inaugural retreat. That
It
was
did,
10 years
actually.
ago.
And I remember sitting down, and then we were starting to go through everything, and the pandemic pretty much shut everything down. And just like everybody else, we were kind of like, well, now what? And then we pivoted, like so many nonprofits, like so many companies, like so many organizations, like that you just had to. I mean, there was really no other choice but to pivot. So we were able to still um, carry out some of our mission, not necessarily with the retreat because of the pandemic, but with love bombs. And we were very um, conscientious about social distancing and being very respectful, because, some of the women had just finished treatment. Some of the women were a little bit further out from treatment. These were all nominees from people who are very aware of Shay's Warriors. And to be able to give back to these women with our with items from our partners who were just wanting to help and participate. And that was, one of the most incredible things, to see our community really rally behind, you know, our mission. And especially during the pandemic, for us to be able to do that. So,
And for those people that don't know what a love bomb of hope is,
yeah.
it was the original thought behind Shays was to have this retreat, which was going to be a mind-body connection retreat, a wellness retreat, and be able to have everything healing modalities there for 3 days, or 4 days and 3 nights
Yeah.
for 25 women in the Valley, or 25 women that were nominated after they were done with their active treatment.
Not necessarily from the Valley, just nominated.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you. And so we did that. And when we couldn't have the retreat, we decided to put a box of goodies that still they would have gotten at the retreat, but
Yep.
we put more in it so that the retreat came to them. And we did, I did some free yoga sessions, Yoga for Cancer.
Yeah.
And we did some meditation sessions in that first round. And we did our 25 women that seen this through the COVID and the same time, which was great. And we were able to achieve what we wanted to achieve, just in a different way.
Yep. Yep.
Nothing was going to stop us.
No. Well, cancer doesn't stop, so we didn't. Right? That was one of our mottos too. Cancer doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Right. And so this year we are actively fundraising.
Yes.
We're asking people to buy our merchandise. You know what it's going to. You're going dark on me, Eileen.
I know.
I was going to say, you could see your awesome shirt.
I'm in my bathroom, which is the only place that I can sort of hide from my kids. And
we got to do what we got to do, right?
We do. I mean, one of them came in here while we were doing this earlier, and I just kind of looked at her. I'm like, really? I'm live right now, but
it's okay. Life. It's life.
It's life. Exactly.
But yeah, you have the Shay's Warriors original tee on.
I do. I have the OG tee.
I have the We Hope in Color tee.
Yes, I love it.
And we also have a mural located at the Gardens at El Paseo, because the Gardens became a partner with us after they found out what our mission was. Yes. And so anyone can go there. We hope that cancer survivors and thrivers go to there, and there's a scan that they can do and share their story, and then we will share that for them as well, and take a picture and tag us.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous mural. It's actually the most eye-catching thing. And I can't tell you, at least at this Paint El Paseo Pink Walk that we just went to and did, the amount of people who stopped and took pictures. Like, we went through the whole walk, and all the pictures that I see on social media, we're there. It's so fantastic. You know, we're literally right in the middle of the gardens, across from the murals, across from anthropology. So there's a lot of foot traffic, but there are so many pictures people taking with that. It is just incredible.
Yeah.
So
It's a beautiful mural, and we're so grateful that Lindsay is one of our board members and came out here so we could all gift that to the community here in the Valley, along with the gardens.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, well, it's getting to be that time.
Yeah, it is. It's gone by fast.
It has gone by fast. Yeah. But Shay's Warriors is on a mission, and we hope that all of you will be on that mission with us. We want to raise awareness. We want to inspire, empower, and educate women, their families, their friends about life after cancer. We want to be able to give back hope, and we definitely are looking forward to being able to gift this retreat to 25 women this year, this June, Survivors Month.
Yes.
And so if you love what we're doing, you love our mission, we ask you to how you can help. We ask you to look us up online, like us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all of the above.
Share all of it. Share every single bit.
Share. Yes. Share. You can donate on our page. You can become a partner or a collaborator with us. Reach out to us. If you've got something to share, you want to collaborate with us, let us know. We'll bring it to our board. We'll talk to you about it, because it does take a whole tribe of people to be involved in what we're trying to do in our mission. And we're very grateful with all of our current partners and some of our past partners, current board members, past board members who've been there and gotten us this far.
It's been incredible. It really has. It really, truly has. And it's going to continue to be. So,
yeah.
Look us up, like us, share.
Definitely. Yeah. shayswarriors.org is where you can connect with us. And it's right there at the bottom of the screen. And, we've helped women not only locally, but we help people across the country. We've shipped our shirts across the country. We have partners in Texas, in France, in New Zealand. It's crazy where people connect with us. Minnesota, Illinois, New York. People from all over have reached out, and we've talked to them. We've talked to them live on the phone, and we hope that you will connect us with someone that might need something as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight with myself and Aileen.
Thank you.
And just keep going, right?
Yep.
We're stronger together.
That's right.
Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.